Hey there, I'm Kwackajack and I own a 2019 Kawasaki Ninja 400. So this was my first motorcycle, and if you've been following the channel, you've probably seen some of the adventures that I've had over the last 2 years with it. But I can very clearly remember the stress and anxiety before I'd actually chose this bike when I was still looking at which one to get. I remember spending hours and hours just umming and ahhing, deciding on which bike to get and which direction to go in. Well, eventually I decided on the Kawasaki Ninja 400 in KRT trim, and I have not regretted it once. And that's in part due to these 7 things that I was searching for and found when I was looking for my first motorcycle. So, here are the 7 reasons why I chose the Ninja 400 as my first bike. Stick around to the end for the reason that I'm currently really grateful for as well. So, the first reason I chose this bike was, of course, the engine. I personally believe that the 400 sits right in the sweet spot. The Ninja 400 has a 399cc parallel twin engine, which produces 45 horsepower and 38 Newton meters of torque. Now, keep in mind, the only bike that I'd ridden before this one was the 125cc Honda at my pre-learners course, so those numbers sounded like a lot. I was nowhere near as confident as I am now on the roads, and I didn't want an engine that was going to be too big or too intimidating to learn on. But at the same time, I didn't want one that was too small where after a few months I'd just get bored of it. I felt that anything 300cc's or under would have been fine, but I think I would have gotten a bit bored of it quickly. But anything 500cc's and above might have been a bit too much for me to start off on, or if it's a learner bike here in Australia, it would have had a limiter on it. So there sat the Ninja with the 400cc engine that sat right in the middle. Now the second reason was the price. Ideally, I wanted a new or nearly new bike for my first one because I didn't have enough knowledge at the time to identify if the bike was a hunk of junk or been thrashed by the previous owner. I really like the look of some of the Hondas, like the CBR 500R, but those ones were going for around 8 grand and my budget was around 5 to 6. The Ninja 650 was also going for around that 8 grand as well, and just a little bit too much for me. Well, again, the 400 sat right there in that sweet spot. Knew there were around 7, but I got a dealer demo and I paid 6 grand for it all up. And I think that was a lot of motorcycle for the money. Number 3 was that this bike was adaptable, accommodating, and versatile. When I was researching for my first bike, I read a lot of reviews, watched a lot of guides, and they all seemed to say the same thing. How are you going to use your bike? Well, at the time, I had no idea. Are you going to do a lot of track days? Cool, get the KTM RC390. Are you going to do a lot of miles on the highway? Maybe the Honda's more your speed. Are you going to go hit the mountains? Are you going to use this as a daily driver? There was a lot of questions and I just didn't have the answers for them. To be honest with you, I had freaking no idea how I was going to use my bike. So instead of getting a bike that was good at one of those situations, I wanted a bike that was a bit of a jack of all trades and can do it all. And the only one that really stood out there was the Kawasaki. I'm really grateful that my bike is really good in all those situations. I can use it as a daily rider, or I could take it to the track if I want to. Next reason I chose the Ninja 400 as my first bike was the looks. Look, when I was looking for my first motorcycle, of course I wanted it to be sporty and look cool, but it wasn't the be all and end all. And it wasn't going to be a huge deciding factor on what I got. I was more concerned about the engine and power. Well, that all changed when I saw this bike in the flesh. I think this is a good looking bike, and the fact that it's got that sporty look like its bigger brother's ZX6R and upwards really appealed to me as well. I love that aggressive front end, the dual LEDs as well, that was a big plus, and it's just general stance and definitely its color scheme as well. For me, it was kind of like love at first sight when I saw the Ninja 400. The fifth reason is that this bike was pretty much the class leader amongst beginner bikes. When lining up all the options that I had for a first beginner bike, the 400 just consistently rose to the top every time. The R3 looked like a good option as well. It was definitely an attractive bike and it was supposed to handle really well, but I thought it was a little bit underpowered with that 300cc engine. The RC390 looked funky as well, had that cool color scheme and it was supposed to be great on the track, but it just wasn't comfortable to sit on, and there was some rumors of poor reliability going around. The Honda sort of sat at the top of the class, but it was just too expensive for me, and when comparing the power specs, these guys were pretty even. The 400 was faster, it handled just as well, it was comfortable and cheaper than some of its competitors as well. If it was a game of top trumps, this bike pretty much came out on top in most categories. Now, number 6 was that the Ninja 400 also had a good rep. When searching for a bike, what do? You watch reviews, like mine, you research, and it seemed like majority majority, with some notable names excluded, were just praising the Ninja 400 and saying that it was a great bike. Most people that I spoke to said that Kawasaki was great, and their on-track record is pretty good too. Sure, the Ninja 400's community isn't as big as maybe the Groms or the Hayabusas, but I'm working hard to change that, and I'll be damned if the Ninja 400 isn't turned into a well-loved and appreciated machine. Alright, the seventh and last reason that I chose the Ninja 400 as my first bike, and one that I'm really grateful for now, is the resale value. Yep, these bad boys hold some value, and especially lately, if you can get your hands on one, these guys are actually a pretty good investment. Look, I always knew that the 400 wasn't going to be my forever bike. For some people, I think it absolutely could be, but I'm really grateful that I had such a terrific first step into motorcycling with the 400. When I was doing research on the Ninja 400, I noticed that the used ones weren't that much cheaper than the new ones. And that gap has closed even more as of late. With everything going on in the world right now, the demand for Ninja 400s has only gone up. And really, you'd be lucky to get one under 7 grand here in Australia. So if I decide to sell this thing, it's only gonna have gone up in value. And what a cherry on top of the whole experience. So there you have it. Those were the 7 reasons that led me to choose the Ninja 400 as my first motorcycle. What was your first bike? Or are you maybe in the position I was 2 years ago and looking for your first? Let me know down in the comments below, and let's have a chat about anything motorcycle related. I love hearing what you guys have to say. Make sure to hit like if you haven't already, and subscribe to join our fast-growing motorcycle loving family, where we endeavor to bring the Ninja 400 into the limelight and properly appreciate this great little thing. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, see ya.